All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at. You should have the music. I emailed it to everyone this morning. And
I didn't get it.
what's that?
I didn't get it.
It was in the email today, and it says, click here for the music.
I don't find it.
And I also put it in the chat today. And Sean will put it back in the chat. But I'm gonna play it. Well, let's see. Should I play it first, then teach it, then play
Yes.
it? Or should I teach it, then play it along the way? Sometimes it's like overkill. You hear all these notes, but I think I know what I'm going to do because I have two versions.
Phantom.
Right. So here we go. All right. Mute yourself, please, if you could, or I'll do it. Let's see. Mute all. Well, there you have it. Well, hope it sounded good on that side. You know, I am sending sound across the country, 2,500 miles away in some cases. So I'm going to go over, I'm not going to be able to go over every single detail today, but I'm going to give you enough, because when I do the song, a lot of times when I play it, I actually play it differently every time. Sometimes I don't even play the last page because all the key changes, I get tired of it. And then I'm not a fan of B flat minor and G flat chords and C minor, so sometimes I just end it somewhere. However, first thing I want to do is put up you have the music, but let me just have you put up the music, Sean, if you're there. He's not there. Okay. So I'm prepared to put the music up. All right. So you should have the music, and it should look something like this. I added some notes on here that I'll talk about in a little bit. So if you see them up on the screen, just hang tight, okay? So the first thing is the presets kind of speak for himself, but sometimes when I play the song, I actually use preset 1, my first setup that I'm going to teach you, what I did to set it up. Sometimes I'll actually do the first setup and I'll play it all the way through through the end of the second page. And then I'll start over, okay? Sometimes I do it that way, and sometimes I don't, all right? It's optional, all right? So the setup of this is a 5-page easy play song. So just to kind of give you the order, the song goes as you see. It starts there, and it continues through here, and it goes to the second page. And when you get to the end of the second page, it repeats. So it's telling you to go back here. So then if I do that, then I go back and I keep playing. Forget these notes for now, folks. I'm going to come back to that, okay? And then when I get to here, then I go to here, the third page. And so I play from here, this line, that line. I better let some people in here. All right. Because it could be pretty tricky, as simple as it should be. And then I get to here. I think this is the fourth page. Then it says repeat. When I repeat, I go back to the third page and I pick it up from here. Now, coincidentally, this song, the melody notes tend to repeat a lot. I think they could have pulled this off in less pages, but maybe it's because of the lyrics. And then I play here and I keep going. And when I get to here, then I get to this part of the song. And then I play and I go to the fourth page. All right. But check this out. Then it says to go here, and then it says to repeat that part again. And then when you get here, it says to skip to here after the second time and go through the end of the page. So they basically make you repeat a lot of the stuff. Now, here's the cool thing about this song. I actually left out some of these repeats, and most people wouldn't know it if they were just in the concert. They'd say, hey, it sounded great. So you can leave things out. Sometimes you can bounce around, what have you. The point is, if you use some of the settings, the setup ideas, now I don't have them typed out, so I'm going to ask you to take very good notes, okay? All right. So if you have your music, oh, they have some, currently, thanks. All right, so if you have your music, I'm going to talk about this first setup here. All right? Now, I have you on the screen. How many of you are familiar with a rock guitar player that passed away, I think, a year ago now, by the name of Eddie Van Halen. Anybody know the name? Even if you don't listen to the music, most people, I mean, he was basically the reason why a lot of guitar players exist today. But what a lot of people don't know is Eddie Van Halen, as gifted he was in the guitar, he was actually I think he was classically trained, even piano. That was his first real instrument. And his brother, Alex Van Halen, was, I think, a guitar player first, if I'm not mistaken. And he ended up becoming the drummer, and Eddie became the guitar player. But Eddie started using keyboard sounds, especially around the year 1983, 1984. And I know that because I was about 12 years old then. Let's see, 83 would have been, 12 years old. And they had a hit song called Jump. Anybody familiar with the song Jump? And that album, probably he used more synthesizer sounds than they ever had in the past. I don't recall any synthesizers before that, but if they did, it was sparingly. And that sound, and anytime something big like that comes out, then every kid that had a keyboard was learning that song, and they're trying to reproduce that sound. Well, believe it or not, you have that synthesizer sound, or most of you do, on the organs, and it's been around since the year 2001. It started on the Lowry Royale. That's right. Most people may see it on the instrument if you're scrolling through the list. Now, don't ask me what organs are on there, because I know the organs that have it. But over the years, as the newer organs came out, the Journeys, the Inspires, they obviously have a lot of the sound. So you'd have to check. But the reason for this whole story is predominantly in this whole song, I use that synthesizer. And most people would say, oh, he's using that Eddie Van Halen synthesizer sound. All right. So the first thing I want to do, I'm going to spend a little bit more time on the first setup than anything. The first setup I have, if you want to write this down, so the first setup, when you heard me playing it, I actually did not have a rhythm. I was using no rhythm to start with. So if you can see and listen, I had this. Okay, nice low deep tones. Now, you probably can't tell in this video there, but I'm actually using pedals as well. However, I have a little trick for that for those who don't play pedals. Oh yeah, watch this. Are you ready? Yep. Watch this, one finger. Ooh, you say.
I like that.
Okay. Now, you notice how low the tone is? Yeah, nice and deep, and I wanted some oomph to it. So what I did, first thing I did right off the bat is I transposed the organ down to E flat. So normally, if you don't, this is what it would sound like. That sounds pretty good. I think any key you played, it may sound good. But I transposed it down from this to this. How many half steps was that? Did you count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 half steps. I thought it was like 7, but now it's a little. All right. So the first thing is my very first setup, because I use that setup throughout the song and I just add some stuff to it. I have it transposed down to E flat. Okay. The other thing I did is the chord sound down here. is not existent. So if you have a tab here, it says lower. If you don't, make sure there's no sound on the bottom keyboard. Okay? Here's the other thing. If you do, depending on the chord you play, it may sound a little muddy. See, see how the chord sounds muddy? Even though the easy play is on, it gets a little muddy. So I have no sound on in this keyboard. All right, so far so good. Transpose down to E flat. Turn off your lower tabs down here to have no sound on. But this keyboard is going to come into play in the very beginning, especially if you don't play pedals. All right. Now, the other thing I did, let's talk about the upper keyboard, the melody sound. If you want to write this down, this would be good to write down. I have 16-foot strings here. Now, a lot of you have a yellow string tab here. Sometimes they're located on the screen, depending on the instrument. If you have a yellow tab here, 16. Some of you have it listed in the Genius. Let's put it over here. All right, so let me just turn this off. So right now I have this sound here. All right, the string sound. And in your orchestral, these are the two sounds that you're going to be hearing a lot. Okay? You have a string ensemble. There's an actual sound called strings, ensemble. All right? And what I said in the beginning of this, you're going to use a brass sound, but it's not just any brass. It's brass, synth dash jump. I'm going to get an easel out and I'll write some of the stuff as I go. All right. I won't write everything. I have an easel on its way.
Easel does it now.
Oh boy, you should take your act on the road. All right. So in the orchestral, the right hand, the red buttons that most of you have, if you don't have that panel, it's labeled orchestral. In orchestral 1, I have, I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not here. Strings, and then it's ensemble 1. You see that there? Are you able to see that?
Yep.
All right. I might have to do without the easel. Might be better this way because then I could just, I'm making them run around back and forth, and then I say, forget it. And then with that sound I have, it's called brass. Now, I don't know why they considered it a brass. I'm not sure. There's probably a logical reason. But it's called brass synth dash jump. Remember the song I told you was called Jump? I'm going to show it to the class here. You see that? All right. So with that in mind, now let me take it back to the regular transpose real quick and put just that sound on. This is the song I know that I remember because I learned it a long time ago, back in 1983. The album was called 1984, but it came out in 1983. Now, if you heard that song on the radio, that was the sound. But through my editing and changing it around, I took the string ensemble, the brass synth jump, and then the 16-foot strings here, and I get this sound. As long as you transpose it down to E flat, and watch, here's what you get. All right. So what I do is I kind of create my own introduction sometimes. Now, sometimes I don't. I just play the song as the setups you're going to get today. Getting the easel now. Yeah. Let me admit somebody in. Got to multitask a little bit. All right. Now, so before I go any further, upper keyboard has the strings, Ensemble 1, combined with brass, colon, sixth jump. Now, by the way, for those of you who don't know this, the reason why they label it that way is when you go to scroll through a sound on your instrument, if you want to find a string sound or brass type sound, like if I said use the brass section, or because there's a lot of different, they group them together that way. Like guitars, for example, an acoustic guitar, a lot of people would scroll through and go through the A's and they don't find it. But it's not. It's guitar, colon, acoustic, guitar, colon, electric. So they group them that way, all right? No sound in the lower. And the last thing that I have set up down here is I put on some thunder. I don't know. I think of phantom. I'm thinking rainy, windy, or oh. So I put a little thunder sound effect here, and I program a wind here, and then I even do it over here. But while I'm playing, sometimes I'll actually activate it. Now, some of the organs, I don't know if they all do this, but a lot of them, the wind sound, if you set up the wind, please remember where you put it. What note? Because when some of the sounds stay on consistently, they don't stop. Like the thunder kind of just fades away, right? Wind will keep going. And if you don't know, if you want it to stop, you don't know what's there, what'll happen sometimes, I'll activate it somewhere. See, I have other sound effects set up. Whoop. I don't use it through the rest, but sometimes I'll activate it and I don't know where it's at, and then I'm trying to find where the heck did it go? Oh. Then you end up hitting a bunch of notes trying to shut it off, and you get roosters, and then if I switch a preset and go back, it'll deactivate it. So I just add a little thunder and a wind for just a little extra, effect. All right. Now, the last thing is I set up the pedals. Even if you don't play the pedals, you're going to want to do this because I'm going to show you a little trick here. I have the pedals set up like they normally are. It has a 16/8 bass, but there's also a tab here. A lot of you have this tab called Ensemble Bass. Okay? Write that down, Ensemble Bass. Some of you have it just right on the organ. And then there's a pedal Genius. In the pedal Genius, I actually have a sound called, let me pull up my dry erase board. So this is the upper keyboard. I'm going to just write upper. And then on the pedal, I have the 16-foot and the 8-foot tab. That's pretty common. It comes on, but you definitely want the 16 because the 16 is a low sound. All right. And then I have, there's a tab called Ensemble Bass. Okay. And then there's in the pedal Genius, or if you have the EX series, that's a sound button. If you have an A series model, it's called Pedal Genius. I have a sound called Strings Octave. Forgive my slant, but that's the way I'm writing, so it's going to be slanted. I'll unslant it. How's that? You see it? Round one, everybody. Round one. Okay. Now, when I play the song, I actually physically play the bass. So manually play the bass. So I'm playing the notes in the song, and then I'm also playing okay, so now, Sean, can you put the first page up real quick? Oh, I'm asking Sean to do stuff while he's on the phone. That's not very nice, is it? Screen share. Okay. Now I'm going to leave this up here for a second. Now, you'll notice I'm spending a lot of time on the first preset, and that's okay, because once you got the first setup done, it's a matter of adding a rhythm, adding a sound here and there that really makes this setup. So when I play the song, I do it this way. I play those notes in an 8 VB. Does anybody know what that means? 8 VB on your music there? Does anybody know what 8 VB means?
An octave higher.
Octave lower.
It's actually an octave lower. 8 VA is an octave higher. Okay, 8 VB is an octave lower. However, I don't even know why I put that there, because even if you go an octave lower, it still doesn't do it justice. All right, because if you play those notes the way you see it, you'd be playing up here, you play it down here. I actually tell people I play it down here as low as you can go, starting on the, and I even take it a step further. I use as many fingers as I can. To give that sound, and then I play the pedals. Now, if you're not a pedal player, check this out, folks. Remember I told you earlier, the sound is off. The chord sound is off. Okay? But if you put on the easy button and turn off the memory, MCS and auto bass is on, what'll happen is when you play that same note, you're playing the bass note. So even if you dumbed it down a little bit and made it simple, watch this. Simpler. That's just with 2 fingers. Pretty cool, huh? So what I do in the beginning of the song is I play those notes that you see. Forget the chord for a minute, and I play them. If I'm playing the pedals, I do the pedals. If you're not a pedal player and you need to play that bass note, just do what I said. Put the easy button on, and turn off memory. If you leave memory on, you're going to get this. I guess it's not bad. It could be a different effect. But if you turn it off, you have control of when you want it on or off. And then you can do something like this. Now, what I did when I played the song is I actually played page 1 and 2 with that setup. You don't have to do that unless you want some long, drawn-out introduction. Okay? But if you just do that setup, as you see it for the first setup here, A1, when you get to here on A2, this is when I throw in a rhythm style. Here are the 2 rhythm style choices that are commonly used that I like to use. And it's very commonly used. One, most people have a style called disco. Disco is commonly used. Marco Mendes uses it when he plays it. I think I've heard Kerry play Phantom with the disco. I got an idea from Joe Fontesha years ago, and I use it. It's called Slumdoggy. You've heard me say that a few times. It's not a rhythm that I use at all except for this one song. Okay? And so what I have now is I have that exact same setup that you hear, but this time I have the actual rhythm on Slumdoggy. Okay? Tempo that I have it at is at 125. Some people play a little slower, sometimes I even play it a little faster. Okay? And when you hear the introduction, now here's what the rhythm normally sounds like. Of course, it's transposed down, so. Song you can play with that? Love Boat. The love, you listen to the beat, Love Boat. You'd be surprised. Sometimes people see the title of a style and they go, oh, I'm not going to use that. And they don't even listen to it. And you might, so, but when you do the minor chord, totally different. Notice where I'm playing. I don't know if you could see it on the screen there, folks. You guys can see it up close. I'm not playing it up here where most people would play. Now, the beauty of this song, when I play this song, you'll notice I'm going to do this. Sometimes I start here, sometimes I go here, sometimes I go back and forth in the same, like this. Point is, you can do it however you want, okay? So really, the first setup is I put on a rhythm with everything that I used in the first setup. The second setup is everything from the first setup, only I have a rhythm added. I never, ever, ever have a chord sound on in the lower keyboard. All of the magic is happening from the use of the style. See, I was trying to find the wind, but I don't know where it's at now. Oh, there it is. I put my thunder on E and the wind here. But you got to remember where it's at, because if you don't, you're going to start trying to turn it off and get, I think the Headless Horseman just showed up. All right, so for the second setup, it's the same sound setup, the upper keyboard, only I have a rhythm added, okay? And you have your choice between disco or Slumdoggy. I use it at tempo of 125. All right? The other little thing, if you're taking good notes, I actually have a drum variation button on, and listen to the band. Okay? Hear the drummer? Okay. He's going to change when I get to the next setup. When I get to the third setup, listen to this. I'll just do a little piece of number 2, the last part of number 2. Here's number 3. Okay? Now, the reason why I like to play this song low in the beginning is because when I get to the third setup, nothing changes in the setup, the keyboard sound. The only thing that changes is when I go to my third setup, I actually turn, the only thing I have happening is a drum variation and the G, everything's still the same. Oh, the alter style. I knew I did something there. Yeah, I turn on alter style. So the band changes from this. It's kind of like subtle. And when I go to the third setup, it changes from this to this. Hear how the band changed, right? So there's kind of like this buildup. However, the real big part of the buildup is I go from the low keyboard and I jump up to the top here. So I go from this. Okay. So just by taking your sound from here, your hand from here to here and playing those notes high, it builds the song. And you know, that's applicable to a lot of things. If you play songs, sometimes you can play those, even if it's like a trombone or a saxophone you play here, you go to another part of the song, tell the band to do something else. Even if it's as simple as an alter style, then move your hand up an octave, and if it's okay for your ears, it'll uplift the song, the arrangement. Believe it or not, that's all I did on the third setup. Now, I've been playing this song for years, and a lot of people think there's a lot of spectacular things happening. There ain't nothing happening. I move my hand up an octave, and I put on an alter style. Now you know all my little secrets. That was it. Listen. Now, the music calls for you to repeat that part. Sometimes I don't repeat it because it's a long song, okay? Depends on where I'm at in the concert. If I got 20 minutes left and I got 5, 6 songs to play, then I shorten it. Or if I see the crowd sleeping a little bit, I might just, or just sometimes just how I feel at the moment, okay? Now, what's cool is number 2 and 3, 4 and 5 are very similar, actually. So what I do with the song is I kind of go up and down because it's so repetitive. The 4th and the 5th setup, let me bring the music up here. Or Sean, can you pull the music up real quick?
Sure.
Thank you.
I think. Which page?
Where it says preset 4.
Coming up.
That's page 1.
Oh.
Now it's page none.
There we go.
That's page 1.
Which page then?
Keep going. Stop right there for a second. See the third setup? Setup 2 and 3 are very similar. Okay. We'll go one more page. All right. Stop right there. So 4 is actually the same as 2. And 5, this is where I want, when I say 4 is the same as 2, there is a slight change in that I make sure that the Genie and the Orchestra Plus is on both together. But number 5 is the significant one. Okay? When I get to number 5, I have everything that I've had set up. The difference is, remember earlier I said I had strings Ensemble 1 with the brass synth sound. I changed that sound to strings. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right. Maybe Sean, you can help me. Sforzando.
Sforzando.
It's spelled, it's strings colon, and it's spelled Sforzando. How does it sound? How does it go? What?
Sforzando.
Are you saying it right too?
I don't know. I'm just guessing as well.
Sforzando. I think the person that made the name of that sound must have been already had a couple bottles of wine, and it sounds like it's Italian too. And he said, "Yeah, let's go Sforzando." Yeah, that's great. Let's write that down. And we're going to add an 8-foot strings. So let's come back to me. And what I'm going to do here is on the fifth setup, this is number 5, it's strings. I'm not going to even try to pronounce it anymore. Something like that. And then I add, this is getting messy here. I add the 8-foot strings tab. Okay? So here's what happens. You go from a sound like this okay, to this. See how big that was? Much bigger, just by those 2 sounds. Now pull the music back up real quick. All right. So you'll see that that song says repeat that a couple times. All right. Now, there's one other little thing that I want to show you. I'm going to stop right there because that's a big part of the song. But on page 2, go to page 2. You see on the second line there, folks? You'll see that there's some blue notes there. Now, your music does not have this. This will be uploaded when I upload the presets and what have you to the Patreon. I'm going to leave those notes there, but you may see them in multiple places. So if you print the music and you see those notes, those are optional. Okay? When I get to that part of the song, and there's other places I do it as well because the melody repeats. You'll notice I added A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A flat, and then A. I'm going to leave that up there for a second so you can write that in. Now, I'm going to try to show you off to the side how I do that. Let's see, is that camera angle? Can you see when I do put the camera back on here? Can everybody see? Can you see? No, you can't from that angle. So this is going to be tricky. But what happens is when I get to that part of the song, I go something like, there's a couple other places in the song that does it. It goes like this. And then when I hit the note up here, I very quickly come up and I play. It's not easy to do if you're not used to doing it. So if you don't do it, it's not the end of the world, okay? I just do it to, I don't know, impress people, make it look like I really know what I'm doing, right? So watch. So if you ever heard me play that and you wonder where those notes are, those are the notes. Now, I was going to put it in multiple places of songs, but I didn't because I wanted you to have the option. Now, when I put the other version up on our Patreon site, you'll see those blue notes in a couple places. Remember, they're optional. All right? It's just something a little extra to do. Now, if we don't do it, this is what happens. Your song is fine. In fact, they don't have that in the original score, so, no one's going to go, you know what? They should have done that in the original score. So there are a couple places to do that. If you have your music in front of you, the one place it can be done is on the second page where you have, starting at the A minor. On the third page, starting on the third line. Wait, nope, sorry, stop that. The last line, yeah, the last line on the fourth page, all right? And really, those are the two places that you can put it, because what happens is the song makes you repeat that part a few times. Sometimes I'll do it on one turnaround, and second turnaround I may not do it. Sometimes it just depends on the mood that I'm in. Yeah. Now, check this out. Preset 6, because it kind of repeats a little bit, I had to change it a little bit, just enough. On preset 6, it's the same setup, but here's the difference. Take off the 8-foot strings and add the 4-foot strings. Here's the only difference. It's going to sound like this with the 16 and the 8, or 16. If you put the 16 and the 4, it's going to sound like this. We're just making the strings give us a different effect, okay? However, on preset number 6, the alter style is off. So what I do is I turn on the alter style every time I do that part. Every time, I'll tell you what I do. On preset, if you want to write this down, on the third setup, 5th setup, and 7th setup, they always have the alter style turned on. On the 2nd, 4th, and 6th setup, the alter style is off. So in this case, the evens, no alter style. The odds, alter style is on. Okay? The number 2, 4, and 6, I have alter style off. And 3, 5, and 7, alter style is on. And if you look at those setups, you'll see that those notes played at those part of the songs are very similar. You'll see a lot of similarities. All right? Now, on number 7, I am going to jump to number 7 because there is something that I do on number 7 that's a little bit different than the other presets. I'm just going to hold this chord sound down for a few minutes. And I'm going to go, here's preset 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You notice how they're all very similar. Some of it changes based on what I told you, but here's number 7. What I do to number 7 is I turn on every flute tab that I possibly have. 16, 8, 5 1/3, 4, 2 1/3, 2, 1 3/5, 1 1/3, and a 1. However, when I turn that on, I also make sure that the tremolos, all you guys have these on your instrument. They're typically on this side of the organ. You'll see a fast and a slow. I put it on the slow mode because it gives me this type of effect. Almost like a church organ sound. We'll get to the pipe sound in a minute. And it's just not an organ. You have that on with the other sounds on, and you get this. Okay? Now, preset number 8 is everything is the same, but preset number 8, I have one little change here, folks. Maybe 2 little changes. I make sure all of the flute sounds are on, and the 16, 8, and the 4 strings are on. But I also have one little extra goodie in here. Listen. Oh, we get big there, don't we? I have a pipe type organ sound. However, it's not just what you think. A lot of you have this little tab here. It's either called upper sound or genius. I turn that on and I scroll to a sound called organ colon small ENS period. I think it means small ensemble. I don't know why they call it that because it actually sounds big. And it gives you a pipe type organ sound. It's a big sound, isn't it? Okay. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if you set up these sounds in the presets on the organ, I'm going to tell you, sometimes I'll use preset 8 where 5 and 7 are. It doesn't matter. So when I play it, I might go like this. Here's preset. I'm on the 3rd page. If you have the music in front of you, I'm going to play it one time through, and I'm going to use preset. It says 4 or 6. We'll put it on 6. Now I'm going to do number 5. So I went from 6 to 5. Okay, now I'm going to do it again. I'm going to keep it there. Go to number 6. Now I'm going to jump to number 8. Forget what it says over there. I'm going to put 8 there. Okay, so the beauty of the setups is that if you get it set up on the instrument, you can bounce around however you want. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the song one time through, and I'm going to try to remember to tell you which preset I'm using when I do it. Okay, so follow along in the music, and you'll notice that sometimes I'll bounce around a little bit. In the beginning of the song, I kind of followed it for the most part through. I didn't play all the parts. I'm going to do a shortened version, but I'm going to do the presets a little bit differently. Now, in this particular setup, the way I'm going to do it this time, I'm going to skip preset number 1. I'm just going to go right for the introduction on the organ. Okay? By the way, I'll have this on Patreon by Sunday. I'll have the music with the presets. I'll add those extra notes in blue for you if you have it. And I'll have typed out everything that I said today. Okay? So you'll be able to go back and review your notes, compare it. One way or the other, you'll have enough information that you'll be able to set up the instrument, hopefully as close as possible. Okay? Am I missing anything, Sean? Okay, so here we go. And if you're not familiar with Patreon, I know most of you are, patreon.com/Fletcher Music Centers. And if you're not sure how to get there, the easiest way is to go to our website. If you go to our website, right up at the top here, you'll see an envelope, an F for Facebook, a YouTube video. Right here, Patreon, that's supposed to be like a P. Okay? I've had a lot of emails over the last 2 months saying, I don't see as many videos as on YouTube. Well, guess what? Everything is uploaded to Patreon now. Not everything is on YouTube. Okay? So everything since last October that we've done is on Patreon. All right? If you click that, it'll bring you directly to the page, and it'll pull up the posts that we have. Now, because I'm signed in, I'm actually a patron. I pay myself or pay the company for me to, even though I have full access to it through the company side of it. But you'll see that sometimes it'll say unlock. These don't say that. And I put up every video. Kerry's classes that he does is all scheduled through May next year so far. And then you can actually do a search here. You could actually search, you could say Joni, Sean, what have you. And if you click here, this will actually, it's an easy search. EX series, product features, Jerome, Don is in there somewhere, Sean, etc. Demonstrations, easy setups. They're all labeled, and you click it, it'll tell you how many videos are done by that. Sounds of the season, Black Songbook. You'll see all sorts of things. There's all little tags, and how many are associated with it. So there's all sorts of great things you can do with that. All right, so it's definitely worth being a patron, especially if you need to go back and review and get some of these extra materials. So I'm going to give you the shorter version, but I'll start off with the presets. So I'm going to start off on the second preset with just an introduction of the organ, and then I'll call out the number. So try to follow along where I'm playing the parts, and then you could just kind of see how I did it. Who knows? It may be the same, maybe a little different. Here we go. Number 3. Number 4. I'm going to go to the third page now. Here we go. Number 5. Number 8 on the third page. And I'm ending with number 5. And there you have it. I'll give myself a round of applause. Yay! Oh, the applause. Although the applause gets transposed down too. They've got very big hands, deep claps. Well, that's all I have for you. That's a lot of information in a short time. But I'll get everything posted. If you have any questions, get the information first. Don't call your PA and say, what did Robert do? Because they're all busy working right now. Sean knows some of this because he's on, but He's got a store to run, so I don't want 56 of you calling him saying, what did he say in this part here? So once I get everything typed out and posted, it'll be out by Sunday at the latest. You can have the information. If you have a question like how do I set up the sound or how do I do this, then contact your personal assistant. Make sure it's available. The presets will be available for the A series and the E series. So just be patient. Give me a few days because I'm going to type everything out, be a little more specific. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you for attending. Stay safe. Keep playing music and mwah.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Robert, thank you.
Thank you.